This video is the mount farming exploit guide for World of Warcraft. I'll be revealing some of the most powerful secrets to walk through walls, move at insane speeds, and even teleport through dungeons and raids to farm the most sought after mounts in the game. You'll want to bookmark, favourite, save or otherwise record the location of this video for easy access, as there is a lot of valuable information here. First, lore walking has revolutionised how quickly you can travel to the raids and instances where mounts drop from bosses. For example, simply select the Ethereals option and you get sent straight to Netherstorm, just a stone's throw away from all the raids. You can also use it to get to the north of the Eastern Kingdoms, which has historically been very difficult for Alliance, and various parts of Northrend in the Lich King campaign. You can save which part of the campaign you want and come back to it to port to a specific location. Note that you are in lore working mode when you are in the open world. It is cancelled when you go into an instance. When outside an instance, you can return to the point at which you started lore walking, whether it's in Dornegal or your faction capital, at any moment by cancelling lore walking, as I'm showing here. For most practical purposes, it's like a second Hearthstone. Now, various other YouTubers have given some good advice on which classes and abilities to use to get through dungeons quickly. By using lag, you can extend speed boosts considerably. Lag can be induced very simply by pulling the cable out of your modem, or you can use special software. There's a link to a famous piece of software known as Lag 7 on my Patreon. Speed effects can be preserved for a maximum of 16 seconds. You need to cancel the speed buff after 8 seconds or you will lose your connection altogether. It then takes a further 8 seconds to restore your connection. All classes can benefit from this, but the best class to do it with is the Evoker. Know that some abilities can be used to extend flight duration at velocity for extended periods. And this can be a very effective way to bypass certain physical barriers. There's a good chance that you are watching this video specifically because you want to farm the Lich King's Invincible mount. I have a specific video on this, and there are multiple time-saving techniques you can use here. Specifically, strategic use of the teleporters in the early stage, jumping through the instance at this point here to get to Sindragosa directly from the Blood Queen, and also some ways of avoiding all the time wasted with the roleplay section right at the end of the fight. Similarly, I have an old but still very valid video about how to skip to Illidan in the Black Temple if you are farming the war glaives using this weird technique. You essentially exploit the knockback from these strange mobs to get onto this chain here. You probably already heard about a method demon hunters can use to jump up the chain here. This is the only method, this method I developed, that will allow you to do it on all classes. To exploit the Cold Scar mob's knockback is not trivial, so be aware these classes can use their movement abilities to get on the chain directly more easily. Now, many older dungeons do not have any protection against demon hunters, as this class was added much later, so simply getting very high up in some way in an instance often allows you to skip through most of the dungeon or raid. This method I developed for Magister's Terrace allows you to farm the swift hawkstrider mount from Kel'Thas in as little as 30 seconds. Most skips like this involve jumping on one relatively lowly placed asset and using Fell Rush and or Vengeful Retreat to bypass invisible walls at the apex of the jump. With indoor locations such as Sethic Halls here, this isn't always possible. Here, explorers and exploiters tend to focus on size glitching through overhanging architectural features. One method I found that is very effective, and I've never seen discussed, is the use of the Mage's Chewed Wand item. If you use the wand at the blocked entrance to the final boss in Sethic Halls, which is very near the instance portal, you can glitch through it, as I'm showing here, and kill the final boss. Then run over to Anzu, who is right next to the Talon King, for a shot at the reins of the Raven Lord mount. Again, the whole thing can be done in as little as 30 seconds. Sometimes boss mechanics can be usefully exploited. Some bosses have summon spells that can transport players, and especially in earlier instances, they have no maximum range within a dungeon. For example, again in Black Temple, Mother Shiraz has an ability which transports players to a specific location right next to her. As you can see, I placed my mage at the entrance to the instance, while my evoker has gone right through the dungeon and engaged her. Observe as she summons the mage from the entrance, cutting out an extraordinary amount of running through the dungeon. It is a huge time saver, even if you use the chain skip I mentioned earlier. The mage bypasses most of the dungeon and is now only a few minutes away from being able to kill Illidan and complete the instance. Sometimes the skip is extremely simple to execute provided you know exactly where to go. Reticle based movement abilities. Those are the movement abilities which create a big green circle for your character to move into. Reticle based movement abilities are notoriously glitchy and can often be used to glitch through scenery. This one is really useful for getting through Ulduar fast. Clear the raid up to the shattered walkway and then go down the stairs here to this pot and use your movement ability. I'm using Infernal Strike here, but it can be Heroic Leap or any similar ability. And you can go straight to the General, who is right next to Yogg-Saron, the final boss, and a chance at Mimiron's head. You skip more than half the raid using this exploit. Now, to actually leave a dungeon, there are several methods. The fastest and most efficient is to simply queue for a follower dungeon. When you exit, you should be transported outside the raid or dungeon you were in before you join the instance. Be aware there's a few dungeons where this is kind of messed up. For example, Stratholme in particular does something really weird. If you join a follower dungeon while anywhere in Stratholme and then exit, it ports you to the entrance. But if you then leave through the portal, it will port you to Westfall if you are Alliance, and the Northern Barrens if you are Horde. This can actually be very useful as an alternative way to get back to your capital city, or the troll dungeons in the south of the Eastern Kingdoms. Additionally, some places like Magister's Terrace port you to the nearest graveyard in the Isle of Keldanas, which is nowhere near the terrace entrance portal, and as this is a no-fly zone, wastes rather a lot of time. Here's an alternative method. Drink some pinch whistle nitro fuel. You can get this off the auction house or the inns in Ashran. And also obtain a level 1 cooking fire, which can be purchased near any level 1 cooking trainer. You'll need basic cooking for this to work. When you drink a few of the nitro fuel next to the fire, your health will go down to 0, killing your character and sending them straight to the entrance, where you can then leave immediately, manually. Finally, no one ever mentions this, but often the best strategy for farmers using ults is simply to leave the character in the instance. After 5 minutes offline, they get ported back to the entrance, and if you leave them in the instance through a daily or weekly reset, they are sent to your hearth location, without your hearth being put on cooldown. If you're switching over to an ult, this is very often the fastest method of exiting a dungeon. If you found the methods used in this video fascinating, you may wish to consider joining my Patreon, where I publish secrets too hot for YouTube. Just recently I published an amazing guide to transitioning across realms, allowing your character to instantly respawn rares, other monsters, treasures, nodes, so you can farm gold and grind experience at super speed. And now, more hamsters.